take the next step, which is the dashboards in Tableau. And before we even try to create dashboards, I would just like to highlight what are dashboards in Tableau and set some context so that you are able to relate to it better. So dashboards typically are just a collection of sheets, okay? But they are not just the sheets, they can be beyond the sheets as well. Ideally, why a Tableau dashboard was created was because every sheet could have, different data and, might be unrelated to each other. So when you put the sheets as a part of the PPT or the slideshow that we will be creating, which is the story, right? What will happen is we will have to add a lot of slides, and that is where some related data would be present onto multiple different slides. So it is hard to catch for the audience with respect to the various values that were ideally related to each other. So that is where Tableau thought that there should be a concept of dashboard where we can collate the multiple related sheets together. So let's say, for example, I am talking about the East region, and I'm going to similarly talk about the sales that we are doing at the rest of the regions also, be it the South, West or the Central region. So there are about 4 to 5 graphs that I've created for each of the regions. And now I want to present it to the audience. Now, if I do this individually, sheet wise, you know that there are going to be at least 20 different slides that I'll have to show. And the audience will find it hard to relate because the slides are changing, right? So it is difficult to memorize those numbers as such. Whereas a better view would be where we are having all the related information for the East region presented at once. Similarly, all the related information for the West region presented at once, and so on and so forth for the other regions, right? So a region-wise dashboard would be easier to interpret than an individual set of sheets. So that was the idea behind creating the concept of dashboard. But as I said, dashboard does not need to be a collation of sheets alone. It could be more than that as well, where you can not only include the sheets, but you can also include certain dashboarding objects. We will discuss more on, what are the dashboarding objects. But apart from dashboarding objects, you can also apply certain dashboarding actions in order to, make your dashboard more meaningful or more interactive. Like for example, if I filter out the data in one of the graph, it should also filter out the data in the rest of the other graphs. That kind of functionality is what we can add with the help of a Tableau dashboard. So what we will try to do as the next thing is, we will try out multiple examples related to the dashboard, where the first one, where we will try to create a collection of sheets together presented in the form of a dashboard, such that your concept of what is a dashboard is cleared. And in the next example, we will see what else can be included as part of the dashboard apart from those sheets. So we will try to work upon the various dashboarding objects, and after that we will try to also associate several dashboarding actions onto the dashboard that we create, so that you can understand how to bring in that interactivity in the dashboard. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing that I need to do is create a empty dashboard. And so far we were clicking on creating new worksheets, right? Now it's time to click on to new dashboard button, which is available here. So as soon as I click on to this, I will reach onto a page that looks like this, where you can see there is a left hand side pane available, and I'll discuss about certain things present here. This is the area where you will drop the sheets and you will end up building the entire dashboard. So the first thing that I want you to observe here is there is a device preview which is available here, where you can just click on this and it will give you the preview of how your dashboard is going to look like on two different devices. This is the default view, but let's say you can change this to any of the desktop monitor, how it will display on the desktop monitor. So you can see the dashboard will be of the size of this gray area. So the borders that you see over here, right? You can see this large would be the dashboard. So you may get scroll bars into your dashboard in order to, display the entire dashboard as such. Now you can adjust this. There are several resolutions and all which are present over here, and you can work upon that. But you also have a tablet view which says that only this much section of the dashboard will be displayed by default. For seeing the section which is below, you may get a scroll bar, right? And similarly, you can also see how it will be displayed on the phone, right? So there are multiple such, device previews which are available that help you decide what should be the size of the dashboard that you should be setting. Because imagine from a point of view that this dashboard is something that you're going to present to the audience on the projector screen, right? Now the resolution of your dashboard should match the resolution of your projector screen, otherwise you will end up getting the scroll bars. And as a good practice, it is ideal that you should not have scroll bars into your dashboards or the stories that you're going to present to the audience, because scrolling up and down or to the right and the left does not look good at the time of presentation. So these are very basic things that we need to take into consideration. So Tableau does offer you this device preview which will help you understand how your dashboard will be visible. But at the same time, okay, I don't need this device preview, so I'll just click on this button again. Okay, I got rid of this. So at the same time, it gives you the size option to set the size of the dashboard. So there are several sizes which are readily available over here. Like if you see this drop down, you can see a lot of resolutions are available here. So this will end up deciding how much of space your dashboard is going to occupy. So you can select whichever resolution you want from here, and we can make use of that resolution. But this is ideally supposed to be compared with the resolution of your projector screen, such that it is going to make sense at the runtime. If none of the sizes mentioned over here match your requirement, Tableau also gives you the custom option, right, where you can ideally pass the width and the height based on whatever size you want, and feel free to do that if need be. But most of the time, one of the sizes will definitely work out for you. Below that, what you have are the various sheets. So you can see all of those sheets which we had created are being listed over here, isn't it? So from sheet number 1 to sheet number 19, all of them are listed over here, and when you hover over them, you get to see the graph in the thumbnail, right? So you can actually see which graph you are going to drag and drop onto the dashboard. Now, if you had given meaningful names to your sheets, they will be displayed over here, and it makes more meaningful to drag and drop those sheets, because you now know what is present on each of those sheets. So renaming the sheets is ideally a good option. And below the sheets, what you get to see are the different objects that can be added apart from the regular sheets that we will be collating together in the form of a dashboard. So there are vertical and horizontal containers which will just allocate the kind of objects in the form of horizontal shapes or vertical shapes. But the main objects that I would like to highlight is the text object, which will allow you to add some text part into the dashboard. So just to highlight, so far all of the graphs that we have created were only visuals, right? Let's say, for example, if you look at this or even this, you can see these are just the visuals. Could we write any kind of insights next to the graph just like we would write in the PowerPoint presentation? No, right? So Tableau view just gives you a visual. But now, given that you are going to collate things together into a dashboard, you can do this kind of a thing that, let's say, for example, I'm dragging one of the sheet here. Next to that, I can, drag and drop a text object where I can write down the possible insights from that particular graph, so that when I'm presenting it to the audience, I don't miss out on delivering any of the insights. So this is something that can be done with the help of the text object, but otherwise also the text object can be included definitely to incorporate any other set of pointers. while give the presentation at the runtime. There are certain extensions available that have been created by the Tableau developers, which you can probably download and make use of. But many of the extensions are paid, so we will not be able to explore those kind of options. You also have, I'll just highlight the important ones here. There are many objects, and let me be very honest, Tableau keeps on adding more and more objects with every new version that it comes up with. But a few of the important ones are, of course, your text object, your image object. Let me talk about the image object. So let's say there are certain images which you want to include regarding some of the, let's say, engagement activities that were conducted at your company, and you want to include that, or some, conference that you guys attended, or some of the conference that was attended by the employees, or let's say some other activities or awards and accolades that were received. So based on those kind of images, if you want to include into the dashboard, yes, you can do that. Okay, and not just that, you can also convert an image to a hyperlink. So let's say if you want to include your company's logo as part of the dashboard, and use it as a hyperlink, such that whenever you click on the logo, you go on to the homepage of the company's website. You can do that with the help of the image object. We'll definitely try out something related to that. You also have blank objects which can be included to just fill up the empty spaces. You have web page object, which allows you to integrate an internal browser within the dashboard. So that is also a very good option, so that while you are giving the presentation and someone from the audience asks you a question which would require you to navigate to some website, you don't need to come out of the presentation and do that. Your dashboard itself will allow you to navigate within that internal browser and display that information to the audience. You also have the navigation and the download button that allows you to jump onto some other sheets or dashboards, or download this entire thing as a PPT or a PDF, right? So these are certain options available while you work upon adding those objects onto the dashboard. So as I said, a dashboard is not just a collection of sheets. Obviously, that is the primary intention, but it's not just restricted to that. You can add many other such objects and make it look like a more interactive dashboard. Now that we have understood the layout of this dashboard page, let's try to begin with our very first dashboard. And the first dashboard will be simply a collection of sheets, so that I can show you how you can arrange those sheets together to form a proper dashboard. So now, as I said, these various sheets, the ones that we had created in the past few hours, are visible over here for me to drag and drop into this canvas area, right? Now, while I do that, there are two options using which I can place my sheets. One is the tiled option, which is the default and usually a better one, which will fix your sheets as the tiles. And the other option is a floating option, using which you will be able to float your sheet on top of the other sheet. I'll show you where a floating sheet could be useful. But for now, let's begin with the very, first step, which is going to be about bringing those multiple sheets together. For now, I'm just trying to drag and drop some of the, good looking sheets as such into this dashboard. And as soon as I drag the very first sheet, I want you to observe that the entire space has been allocated to this single sheet, because it's the only sheet which is present onto this dashboard as of now. But as soon as you try adding another sheet, let's say for example, I am trying to drag this sheet. Can you see, as I hover over this graph, there is this gray shaded area that appears, which tells me where I'm going to place this sheet. And as soon as I place it, you will see that 50% of the area will be divided into these two graphs. So let's suppose I drop it over here at the bottom, and you can see this was the sheet that had those two different graphs. You can see this has taken 50% of the space, and the remaining 50% has gone for the previous graph. So it keeps on dividing your space further and further more based on how many graphs you're trying to include into a dashboard. Now remember one thing, as a best practice, you should add 4 or max to max 5 sheets together into a dashboard and not beyond that. Reason being that if you add a lot of sheets, everything will look cluttered and the right information will not come out from the graphs. So it's better to have maximum 3 to 4 sheets, at the max 5 sheets into a single dashboard. Now if you see, this dashboard that I have populated so far already has 3 different graphs. I have only a very little space left in order to maybe incorporate a 4th one. So let me do that. Suppose if I want to select some other sheet, let's say this one. Region wise, we were trying to look at the values. So yeah. So I'm trying to look at the region wise sales, and you can see this is the kind of graph that we have got. Now the best part is you can also adjust the width of the graphs. If I know that my sheet 9 will not need a lot of space, I can reduce it, and the rest of the space will then go for the other graph, which was the category wise sales. So you can adjust this width as well as the height of these bars. So let's say for example, I want to further decrease the height of this sheet 4, I can do that easily. But remember, as soon as you try to decrease the height of a very lengthy kind of a bar, you will end up getting the scroll bars. So you'll have to adjust the scroll bars at the runtime in order to incorporate the entire set of values while you talk upon them. So it is up to us to decide what should be the arrangement of these sheets. Now these sheets that we have added onto the dashboard have been added in the tiled approach, correct? Let me show you what is a floating approach. Floating approach is especially useful when you have such kind of white spaces somewhere over here or maybe over here, which you would like to utilize. Because ideally, if you see, all of the bars that are present over here are not requiring a lot of space, right? So this intermediate space is ideally just going wasted. This is where you can float a sheet on top of the other sheet. So any small kind of a graph or a chart that you would like to place into this open area, you can do that with the help of the floating approach. So suppose for example, we had that very small filtered data. You remember this state-wise sales that we had filtered. Suppose I want to include that over here. Can you see this is not giving me a shaded area in order to fix it as a tile? Why? Because it's the floating approach. So as soon as I drop it here, you will see that sheet is floating on top of the sheet 4. Along with the sheets, your filters will also come along, your legends will also come along, and they are all placed over this right hand side pane. Now from here, I'm trying to drag this filter box and I'm just going to place it here such that it does not overlap my actual sheet. So at the runtime, these filters will also be available. So let's say if I decide to change this M asterisk to let's say N asterisk, you should be able to see that change being reflected into the graph as well. So you can adjust wherever you want to place this particular sheet, and it will overlap the other sheet accordingly. Okay, so this is the use of the floating approach. You don't need to give explicit space to this particular floating sheet. It's a small sheet, does not require a lot of space. So rather than keeping it as a tile which will occupy a lot of space, you can prefer to float it on top of the other sheet wherever there is some white space available. This is how you create the dashboard, where you have collated the sheets together, and ideally, as I said, we should have related sheets to be put together into a dashboard, right? As I said, all the data related to East region, if I want to show together, I would create those set of graphs whichever are related to the East region, and I would put it into a single dashboard. Similarly, or maybe region wise, I could also try to filter out the data such that the same dashboard could show me the values for East. Once I select West, it will show me the values for all the West, and the graphs will change accordingly, and so on and so forth for the rest of the regions. But at the same time, let's assume there are different set of graphs. Let's say for example, one graph which tells me a lot about, one dashboard that tells me a lot about the products, another dashboard that talks a lot about from the sales point of view, and the third dashboard which is helping me focus on the customer related data. So when I need to, work upon such kind of different scenarios, that is where ideally I'll put together all the slides related to that particular topic together and create a dashboard out of it. So that is the optimum reason for which dashboards were invented. But as I said, there are other uses of dashboards as well which are available, wherein we can make use of several different objects and also associate different dashboarding actions in order to make those dashboards more interactive. But this was the very first and the important usage where we have collated multiple information together and we will be able to present it as a single view. So instead of moving through 3 or 4 slides in our case, we would just display all of this information at once. The audience can have a lot of numbers present in front of them, a lot of related items together in front of them, which will make it more meaningful for them to interpret that data. Now that we have seen how to create a dashboard using various slides or sheets together and collate it into a single view, let's move on towards the next dashboard that we will try to create, where we will try to bring in multiple objects together. As I said, objects are something that can be additionally used apart from the sheets that you can collate into a dashboard. So at times you can collate sheets as well as objects together, or you can also have a separate dashboard which consists of various different objects. For now, what I'll be showing you is the use of various different objects so that you can think of ideas which can allow you to collate those objects along with the required sheets in order to create a beautiful dashboard. So let's start with a fresh dashboard again, and you can see we have an empty canvas here, so we can easily drag and drop the various objects here. There are several objects as we discussed yesterday. There are containers like horizontal and vertical containers, which are just like, objects that will hold your rest of the objects. Apart from that, you also have the text object, which will allow you to add some textual data into the view. Apart from that, there are several extensions which have been created by the Tableau developers, and many such other objects are available in this list here. We will try to use a few of them which are freely available, and let's try to understand how those objects can make your dashboard more meaningful. Let's start with the very first one. Let me drag a horizontal container here. So now let me drag a horizontal container here and let me drop it. So this is where the entire container has been placed, which can now act like a holder for the rest of the objects. Now let me put up a text object here, and I'm just dragging and dropping it as usual, and you will see I get this edit text dialog box where I can write whatever text I want to. For now, let me write a kind of header, let's say my Tableau project. Now the font is very small, so let me just select this. Let me adjust the font and the font size so that this looks good. Okay, I'm selecting 20 as the size. If you want to change the color, feel free to do that as well. I need it center aligned, and there we go. So right now it's only the text object which the horizontal container is holding for us. So you can see it has occupied the entire dashboard for now. But as soon as we try adding more and more objects into this dashboard, you will see that we will end up dividing that entire space into equal halves, and we will be able to place those objects more meaningfully. So this is a text object, and feel free to write some pointers that you would like to display along with the sheet that you're trying to show on that particular dashboard. So the PPT kind of look and feel is what we can create over here into the dashboard, because as we discussed some time back, the sheets do not allow you to hold some sort of text data, right? Every sheet is just going to simply hold the graph that you are trying to create. So there is no place to accommodate the text. So in case you need to include some pointers that you would like to definitely highlight while giving the presentation to the audience, you can do that with the help of dashboard. So let's say on the left hand side I have my graph, and on the right hand side I have this text object which talks upon those insights. So this is the use of the text object here. Similarly, there are several extensions that we can make use of. Of course, the extensions are mainly paid because they are developed by the Tableau community. But I would just like you to have a look at what is the Tableau extension gallery going to look like. So there are several extensions created by the Tableau developers which you can readily use in order to create several kinds of graphs and charts. So many a times Excel users are used to, let's say, the what if analysis kind of things and all. If you want to incorporate that over here, we do have a what if analysis available in Tableau as well. Some different types of graphs like the drill down tree is available here, which we can definitely make use of. So we need to purchase this extension so that they are available for us to use into our dashboards. But this is something that is typically used in an production environment and not for personal use unless and until it is mainly required. We would ideally prefer to use the freely available graphs which we see here in the show me, and apart from that there are several other graphs also which you can create using Tableau, including your waterfall chart, your donut chart, etc. So using those manual charts or the insights that we can derive out of it, we try to build our own dashboards. But I just wanted you to be aware that there are these kind of extensions also available which can allow you to make use of such extensions directly in order to quickly analyze your data and generate those kind of reports. So that's something about the extension. Let me also talk upon certain other objects. Okay, let's make this dashboard a little fancy. So let's drag an image object here. So when you drag an image object, I want you to observe that this is highlighting the gray area which indicates where am I going to place this particular object. Just like in the previous dashboard, we saw the use of the tiled approach, right? Where we were fixing those sheets as tiles such that the entire space gets divided into halves. The same way, as I drag the various objects also onto the dashboard, the area that I have will get divided, and for now I'm going to place this image object at the very left hand side. As soon as I drop it, you observe that there is a edit image dialog box that has appeared where it is prompting me in order to upload a particular image that I would like to display here. So you can insert an image from your local system, or you can also pass the link to an image which is available on the internet. So whichever image you would like to upload, you can try uploading it. Now, one of the kind of examples that I can help you relate to with respect to the image object is your company's logo. So suppose if you are building a dashboard where you would want your company's logo also to be present, it can definitely be added as an image object. Not just that, if you observe the section here, it is highlighting that the URL opened when the image is clicked. So in a way, you can not only add static images, of course you can do that. Suppose if there are some engagement activities and you want to highlight them through the pictures, you can definitely keep them as static images. But things like your company's logo can be made as a hyperlink, which when clicked will take you to the company's official website. So that kind of thing is also something that you can embed over here, and you can make it as a hyperlinked image. So let's try to do something like that. So let's say, for example, I want an image. Let's download the Tableau's logo itself so that we are able to work upon it. All right, so I'm just downloading this image. And let's try to pull it up. So I'll just browse like any random file, and we will try to load it up over here. Now, yes, there are certain options like fit image or center image where you can fit the image to the entire width of that area for that is reserved for the object, and I would like to do that. I would also like to center that image so that it looks in the center, and we are getting enough space around it. And yes, let's try to first create a simple image object, and then let's try to insert a hyperlink into it so that we can see how that static image gets converted into a hyperlink object. So let me click on OK for now, and you will see that this is the logo for Tableau that we have got. Now, of course, it does not require so much of space, right? The dashboard has just been divided into two halves, and you can see if we are inserting a logo kind of an image, we don't really need this large logo in the dashboard. So we'll try to work upon reducing the space that has been allocated to this object. But for now, let's try to observe how we can convert this static image to a hyperlink object. So now if you see, you just get a cursor here, right? So I can just go to this and I can say edit image, and it will allow me to get that dialog box again, where I can now pass the URL which I would like to open when this image is being clicked. So I am passing the official website for Tableau here, www.tableau.com, and let me click on OK. And there you go. So if you see, the cursor icon has changed now. It's no longer a static image, but it is a hyperlink object. And when I hover over this, you can already see the website that it will take me to. So once I click on this, you will see that it opens your default local browser, whichever is set, and it takes you to that particular URL which you had passed in the dialog box. So this is the official website for Tableau that we are landing onto once we are clicking on that image. So whatever is your company's homepage, that you can set as the URL, and it will navigate you to that company's website when you are giving the presentation at the runtime. So you don't need to officially come out of the presentation, open your local browser, navigate to the company's website and show it to the audience. You can do it directly by clicking this image icon now, and it will automatically navigate to that URL which you have set. So this is the use of the Tableau image object that you can insert into your dashboard. And apart from this, there are some other objects also which are available. For example, the blank object. This is, especially useful when, you want to add some blank area into the dashboard. Just like your websites that you visit have those blank margins at the borders, to the left hand side as well as to the right hand side, so that certain advertisements could be displayed over there, or that space can be used later on for some other purpose. The same kind of thing is what you can try doing over here. But let me highlight where the blank object could ideally be useful. So the current situation that we have onto this dashboard, we see that we just have the image object and the text object for now, right? And these objects are having very less information. Like the image for the logo could have been very small, but it is taking half of the space, so it looks very huge. Similarly, the text object has a very little text present in that object, but because it has taken the half of the space, you see that it is unnecessarily occupying half of the dashboard. So when we want to reduce the space that is allocated to these objects, what we can do is we can try adding blank objects. It is up to us how many and where we would like to add those blank objects. But yes, we just simply need to drag and drop the blank objects, and it will reduce the size of the rest of the objects automatically. So let's try to do that. So suppose if I drag this blank object and I hover to the very left hand side of this dashboard, you can see I'll place the blank object here. So automatically the space that was reserved for the image object has again got divided into halves. And now it's up to me to adjust this space, right? So in case I want to display the logo a little larger, I can increase the space as per my requirement. Or in case I want to further reduce it, I can adjust it accordingly, and I will increase the white space or the blank object space more into this dashboard based on that. So it is up to us to adjust these arrows, and we can assign the required area for each of the object. Now, just like we did for the image object, we can also do it for the text object, because according to me, it does not require so much of space onto the dashboard. So let me drag another blank object and let me place it over here. Just ensure that whenever you are placing any of the objects, you hover over the dashboard properly and then place it at the right position, because otherwise you may end up getting the objects placed in a wrong manner and it may not look visually appealing. Okay, so just ensure that you are getting the right area shaded where you would like to place that object, and then only drop the object. So now that I have dropped this blank object, can you observe the space that was allocated to the text object has now reduced to half. And again, I have the liberty to increase or decrease this space as per my requirement. So this is how you can add certain blank objects to cover up for the rest of the objects, where you don't want to allocate a lot of area into the dashboard. Use a lot of blank objects. But remember, when you use blank objects, that area will be left out blank. So use the blank objects meaningfully is what I would like to say. Alright, now let's try out some other object here. Okay, let's try out the web page object, because it's a very interesting one and I personally like it because it allows you to embed a local browser within the Tableau dashboard. So it's an internal browser that you will get, from where you can access any of the web pages dynamically, so that you again don't have to come out of the presentation, open your own local browser and then navigate to the websites. So let's try to add a web page object here. And while you add a web page object, what I would like to tell you is, again, hover over the dashboard properly, because see, if I drop it over here, only this very small area will be reserved for the local browser, right? So in such cases, you will not be able to visualize that entire website correctly. So ensure that you are giving it a large area. Usually what people prefer to do is they drop it below the rest of the objects this way, so that if you see right now, the shaded area is the entire bottom section that we see in this particular dashboard. So as soon as I drop it here, you will see that vertically it will divide the area of the dashboard into two halves, correct? So we will get the entire horizontal section reserved for the web page. And for the web page to be used effectively dynamically at the runtime, you will require a larger area for it to be reserved, correct? So let me drop it over here and you will see this is the dialog box that it gives me now. The area of the dashboard has got divided into equal halves vertically, and it's just prompting me to enter the URL, which is the website that I want to load when the dashboard is loaded. So again, you can pass your company's website or any other website where there is, let's say, while you're giving your presentation about the various products, right, and you want to keep the web page open where your product related details are mentioned, you can pass that particular URL here, such that while you're talking upon your products, and let's say there is a question from the audience that is asking about more specific details about that product, what we can do is we can simply go on to this particular internal browser within the dashboard, search for that particular product on that page which is already loaded for you, and talk upon it. So we don't have to worry about the hassle of coming out of the presentation and doing it manually. For now, I'm just passing the same tableau.com here, such that it will be able to load the Tableau's official web page here. And you will see that this is a dynamic web page, right? So all the options that are available onto the Tableau's website are available over here. So let's say if I'm trying to deep dive into the products that Tableau offers, you can see the exact same page is available over here, and you can work upon it at the runtime. So all of this is going to be a kind of dynamic object that you are going to incorporate into your dashboard. Okay, so this is something about the web page object that can be added into the dashboard. Now, apart from that, let me also show you the navigation object, because this is something that many a times becomes useful. So, just to set the context, the navigation object allows you to include a button that will allow you to navigate or jump to another sheet or another dashboard. We can set which sheet or which dashboard to jump onto, but this is especially useful when you can't incorporate everything into your dashboard. Again, let me give you an example to understand this better. Suppose I'm talking about the products that the company offers, and there are certain other graphs which I have created which are present in my Tableau workbook, but I have not included all of them here into the dashboard because it could look very cluttered. So now when I'm talking about a particular product, and there are some questions that I'm facing from the audience, for which I have the answers but they are present in the other sheet. So I expect that these questions will come up. So I've already kept my sheets ready, which consist of the answers, right, in the form of graphs and charts. So what I can do is I can just include a navigation button here where I'm going to talk about my products. And as soon as I face that question from the audience, I can just click on the navigate button and jump onto the sheet which has that answers. So this is the use of the navigation button. You can jump onto either any of the sheet or even any other dashboard. It's up to us to decide what page do we want to land up to when that button is clicked. So this is a very useful thing, and as I said, especially useful when you have a lot of information with you within the workbook, but not everything can be incorporated into a single view of dashboard, correct? So let's try adding this navigation option here. But even before we do that, let me just adjust the size of this web page object, because now given that this is an internal browser, we can allocate it a good space, right? We don't need the image or the text objects so large. So let me give the web page object majority of the space and lesser space for the image object as well as the text object. So this is how I am trying to adjust those things. Okay. So now I have this empty areas here, right, which are the blank objects. So I can probably try placing my navigation button somewhere over here. So let's try to do that. So I am just dragging the navigation button and I'm trying to place it here. So what will happen is the entire area that was reserved for the blank object will now get divided into equal halves, correct? So as soon as I place it here, you can see the navigation button has appeared. And what I need to do is when I, kind of double click on this, I get the edit button dialog box. This is where I need to specify certain details with respect to where do we want to navigate. So navigate to will give you the list of all the sheets as well as the dashboards that you have created as part of this workbook. So feel free to choose any of the sheets that you would like to land up to when you are clicking onto this navigation button. For now, I'll just try selecting some of the sheet randomly where we would like to navigate. So let me just pull up the sheet 5, the copy that we had created. I'm just selecting a random one for now, but you can do it meaningfully. The button style, the current selected option is text, which gives me this as the text. But in case you want to, display some sort of image icon over there, such that it looks a little more beautiful, you can choose this option and it will give you the, area to choose the image from your image library and you can load it over here. But for now, I'm okay with the text object. So if you want to display a meaningful title here, you can do that. So let's say I will mention over here, go to sheet 5. Okay, this is just a random name that I'm giving here. If you know what is present onto that particular sheet and you would like to give that header to make that button look more meaningful, feel free to do that. And you can decide what should be the font and the rest of the details related to the background color of the button. If you want to give any sort of borders, you can select the required border. So all of these are just the formatting related options that are given to you by Tableau, such that you can make this a little more beautiful with respect to the look and feel of the dashboard. Many of the times you would like to stick to the color scheme that you are following throughout the entire dashboard. So feel free to change the background color or the border and the color of the borders, etc. And you can modify it as per your requirement. So it is also prompting me to enter a tooltip whenever I hover over this button. What is it that I want to display? So you can feel free to enter a tooltip information here, but for now I'm just skipping this part. I am okay with the default tooltip that the navigation button is going to offer to me. Okay. So having said what needs to be done with respect to this navigation button, I'll just click on OK and my button will be good to go. So you can see when I hover over this button, it is prompting me to click Alt and click in order to navigate to the sheet 5, the duplicate version that we had created. So as soon as I do this Alt click, you will see it takes me to that particular page, which is that page, the sheet 5, which was duplicated by us. So this is the kind of this is the kind of performance that you get with the help of the navigation button, which makes it easy for you to jump onto certain sheets. Those sheets need to be dependent sheets, right? So it allows you to jump onto those dependent sheets which carry more information related to your actual data that you are presenting to the audience. So that's the use of the navigation button. One last thing, let's try out into this dashboard. Let's add a download button. This is a button. Again, I'm trying to place it into this empty space that we had here in the blank object, and you will see it again, will adjust the space of the blank object by dividing into two halves. Now, the download button ideally is just a quick way that will give you, the access to download this entire dashboard or even the entire workbook into a PDF format or into a PPT kind of a format. But ideally, it's okay even if you don't use this kind of a button explicitly, because if you remember, we had discussed the file menu. Wherein we had this options of exporting as PowerPoint or printing it to PDF. So you can do it from the file menu also, or in case you are kind of downloading or in case you are trying to use this download button, you can do it using that as well. So suppose when I click on to this download PDF button, it will give me this edit button option, which will allow me to specify what should be done when the button is clicked. So you can export this entire thing as a cross table to Excel, or as an image, or as a PDF, or even as a PowerPoint. So you can choose whatever option you want to. Let's say I'm sticking to the PDF version for now. This is where I can again decide the button style should be of text or an image object. I'm fine with the text object. And the title again is optional. I am going to download a PDF any which ways, so I can stick to the same name. Borders and background color, I'm fine with whatever is given to me by default, and I don't want to enter an optional tooltip for now. So I'm fine with whatever are the settings that have been made by Tableau automatically for this button that it has provided to me. So all I need to do is click on OK, and this will allow me to set this button. And again, when I hover over this button, I want you to observe it is suggesting me Alt plus click to download. So as soon as I do that, Alt plus click, this is the dialog box that I'll get. Now I want you to observe which are the various options that it provides me. For example, it is prompting me to either print the PDF as just the active sheet or the entire workbook, correct? And I would like to maybe go with the entire workbook, but remember, more the number of sheets, the longer the time that it will take in order to create that PDF for you. Okay, you can also decide what should be the size that you will be using, whether you are doing it in the portrait mode or in the landscape mode. So it's up to you. Let's say I want to go in the landscape mode. and whether or not you want to view the PDF after printing, you can just do that. And let me just click on OK for now, and you will see that it will ask me to store this wherever possible. I'll just save it into my documents folder for now, and let me wait for it to create this file, and it will open it up into the PDF reader. So if you see, it's taking a little bit of time because there were many sheets into my dashboard. Once done, it will be able to open up that file for me. Alright, now that the PDF has been created, let's try to just have a look at it. So you can see this file has got created. Let me just open it up, and there we go. So given that we had tried to, save it into the landscape mode, this is how it looks like. So you can see the very first sheet that we had created, the detailed one, is now showing all of these details related to the graph as well as the legends that were present there. We also had associated a caption along with this graph, so you can see that again is displayed here. This was a sheet where we had allocated a title as well, right? So you can see this sheet looks more meaningful compared to the rest of the sheets that we have onto this PDF, right? So if you see here, I can scroll down and you will see all of the sheets that we had created are visible over here. So these are the various sheets, and as we progress in the next few pages, we will also be able to see the dashboard. Yeah, now this is one thing that I just want to highlight, that many of the times the reason why it takes a very long amount of time in order to download that entire workbook as a PDF is because you have such kind of graphs or tables, especially where there is a lot of data present. If you remember, this was a graph where we were looking at the total cost of the product. So for every product, what is the cost is what we had tried seeing with the help of that calculated variable. And given that there were about 1850 unique values in the product name, you can see this is a very lengthy table that has got created, and it will definitely save or download all of the values for you into the PDF. So this becomes very lengthy. So that's one of the things that I want you to observe. So if you observe the size of our PDF here, this is about 219 pages that we have got in all, because of such kind of tables that we would have involved into our sheets. So let me just take you down, and let us have a look at the rest of the sheets that we have. So just a second, and yeah, there we go. So the rest of the sheets are present here, and we also have our very first dashboard, which was nothing but a collation of sheet, and you can clearly see what were the kind of filters that were applied onto this data, so that you are able to relate to some of the filtering work that has been applied. But you can also observe that the size legends or the color legends also appear along with all of the graphs that you have. So all of those things which were present onto your actual dashboard have come along into this particular dashboard. Now this was because it were these dashboards. Now this was because this dashboard consisted of multiple sheets. But if you look at the second dashboard that we tried saving, the one which consisted of all of the objects that we tried out, this is where I want you to observe that the web page object is displayed as a blank object, right? Now, this is only because that was a dynamic object. So dynamic objects are not going to be seen over here. You can see the area that was reserved for that, but you can't probably see what was the website that was loaded. So it does not take a snapshot of the website page that is visible over there and then download it to PDF. So it looks like an empty object as such. Okay, but this is a great option when you want to share the entire Tableau workbook with someone who does not have even a Tableau reader. So if you remember, in the beginning of this masterclass, we discussed about several tools that can actually allow you to work upon Tableau related documents. We spoke about Tableau Reader, which is like the freeware that allows you to read the Tableau workbooks, right? So you need not have the Tableau desktop application because you are not going to constantly sit and create those Tableau workbooks, but you're just going to have a look at them. So Tableau Reader is also sufficient. But let's say you don't even have a Tableau Reader, then in such cases the Tableau developer can download it as a PDF file and share it with you, because anyone usually would have an access to a PDF reader, correct? So this is one of the useful options that we can have. Apart from that, we can also download these as the PowerPoint. So we can export it as a PowerPoint application so that we can present it as a slideshow. Here, each and every sheet is acting like a page. There, each and every sheet would act like a slide in the PPT, correct? However, having said all of these things, I would just like to reiterate on this point that given that we are going to download these sheets as images and include it into the PDF or even in the PowerPoint application, the interactivity is something that we will lose in such kind of situations, right? So all the graphs, wherever there are any kind of filters applied, or let's say even when you hover over any of the graphs, you don't get to see the tooltip information as such, right? So you lose that interactivity part when you are using the Tableau files into any other kind of tools, be it the PDF or be it the PPT. So that is the reason why, it is usually recommended that you can at least have a Tableau reader, such that, you can open up this Tableau workbooks into that reader and you can have a look at them. Okay. So that's about the second example of dashboards that I wanted to share with you, where we have explored different types of objects that can be, integrated into the dashboard. And as I said, it need not be a complete dashboard having all of different objects only. Ideally, a dashboard could be a collection of sheets as well as objects together, such that you can bring in more interactivity and make it look like a full-fledged dashboard which can be presented to your manager or to the stakeholders. So having said that, let's move on towards the third example of the dashboard, where we will try to explore certain dashboarding actions that can be associated with the images or with respect to the graphs or charts that we are including into that dashboard. So let me create a fresh dashboard once again, and this time I would purposely like to pull up some sheets where we have included certain maps. So let me drag the sheet 2 over here, which was a symbol map, and we also had a filled map on the sheet 3. So let me place it one below the other, and yes, this is what it looks like. So now that I have this two sheets with me, let's try to try some sort of actions associated with these dashboards. So what is the concept of action is something that I want to first tell you about, where whenever multiple graphs are included into the dashboard, what you can do is you can associate certain common filters, or you can also associate certain highlighting actions, or there are multiple such actions which are available, which will allow you to bring in the interactivity for all the sheets that are present onto the dashboard. Let me clarify it better. For example, if you look at this dashboard 1 which we had created, you saw that we had applied filters that were applicable to this particular sheet, right? The floating sheet which we have, which is the sheet 18. But when I try to change this particular filter, you can see it's only that sheet which reflects the change. The rest of the sheets do not change as such. But what if I want to change the data that is present in the rest of the sheets as well? So let's say those states which are starting with M, only those states I want to include into all of the graphs. So maybe they all belong to a single region, or they could be coming from 2 or 3 different regions. So only those regions should be shown over here. Similarly, whatever sales they are doing with respect to the different categories, I want to display only for those states which are listed over here. Similarly, this sheet as well as the profit and loss sheet should be updated based on only these three states which are meeting this condition where the name is starting with M. So these filter that I am trying to set over here should be applicable to all of the sheets that are present onto the dashboard. When this is the kind of interactivity that we need, this is where the dashboarding actions could help you. So let's try to achieve something like that. And in order to do that, what we need to do is we need to go to the dashboard menu where you will find this option related to actions. So this is where actions is what I'll try to click on, and you will get the action dialog box where you're trying to perform these actions onto this workbook, right? And there is nothing present here right now because there is no action associated onto this dashboards. But let us add an action. So there are several actions that are available here, but you can apply 3 actions at the max onto any of the dashboard. So we'll try to, execute the first 3 actions onto this dashboard, which are like the most commonly used ones. Filter, highlight, go to URL. These are the commonly used ones. So let's try them out one by one. Go to sheet is nothing but equivalent to your navigation button, which you have already seen, right? And change parameter or change set values is nothing but going to allow you to change certain values in order to reflect only those set of values into your dashboard. Let's try out the very first one, which is the filter action, and you will get a hang of it. So let me select the filter action here, and it gives me this add filter action dialog box. Now this is where it is asking me to pass a name over here in order to give it a meaningful name. So let's say when you have multiple filter actions that you're associating, you would like to give meaningful names here, but for now I am fine with the name that has been provided, which is filter 1, because this will be the only filter action that I'll associate onto my dashboard. So for now I want you to observe that there are both the sheets which are present onto this dashboard are present in the source sheet as well as the target sheets, which means what? That whenever I try to filter out something from the sheet 2, it will automatically reflect that same change into the sheet 3 and vice versa. So both of them can act like a target and both of them will act like a source sheet as well. So let them be this way, but this gives you that functionality that for certain sheets, you just want them to be target and not the source. You can uncheck the sheet names accordingly and it will consider it that way. Now the most important thing is this one. You want to run this filter action on the basis of which event? There are 3 events that are possible, so that is the reason there are 3 set of actions that you can put onto a dashboard is what I said. So currently I'm going to set this action onto the hover event, which means what? That whenever I hover over a particular state into the sheet 2, you will see that the same state will be filtered out in the sheet 3. Okay, so let's try to have a look at whether that thing works out well for us or not. And once this hover action is done, what do we need to do next? The clearing the selection, let's say when I'm moving out the cursor from that particular state, let's say I was hovering over California and now my cursor is shifting to some other state, let's say Texas. What do I want to do then? So I want to keep the filtered values only, so it should still show California only in the target sheet, or would I want to show all the values? Of course, I would like to show the entire set of values then, correct? So this is the other option that I'm selecting over here. And I want to filter on the basis of all the fields. So let's click on OK now, given that I've done the necessary settings here. And you can see the filter action has been associated. So the filter 1 action has been associated on the hover event on the dashboard 3, applicable to all of the fields. So now when I click on OK, we can try out this action which we have associated. So if you see right now, when I hover over California in the sheet 2, it acts like the source sheet. And into the target sheet, which is the sheet 3 for now, you can see it is only California which it is filtering out for me. This is what your filter action does. Vice versa. Suppose if I am hovering over Texas into the sheet 3, this will act like the source sheet now, and the sheet 2 will automatically become the target sheet here, where you can see it is again the Texas and its value that it is displaying in the sheet 2. So this is a very good idea when you especially want the audience to focus upon the value that you are trying to highlight. Many of the times, see, the reason why I chose these set of map related graphs is because these have a lot of values. So I'll be able to justify the use of this dashboarding actions to you more meaningfully, because these actions usually allow you to help the audience focus upon what you are talking about. So usually the attention of the audience wanders around for the entire set of values, right? Because there are so many values to look at. So when you want the focus to be on a specific value, this is where you can definitely use a dashboard action, correct? So this is how the filter action works onto a dashboard. Now similar to this, let's try out the highlight action as well. So let me again go to the dashboard menu, select actions here, and you will again end up getting the same dialog box which already states that on the hover event, the filter action is already applied. So now when we apply another action, we will try to apply it onto some other event apart from hover, okay? So let me add an action, and yes, highlight is a very good action, again similar to the filter action, but I prefer highlight action more than the filter action. So let me show you the highlight action, and yes, you can see pretty much similar set of values that are present over here while setting the highlight action as well. The name, I'm fine with highlight 1 because I don't want to give any more meaningful name as of now. The source sheet and the target sheets, you can see both of them are selected. So both can act as source as well as target. Run action on, I can't set it to hover now because we already have a filter action on the hover, right? So let's click on select over here, such that when I select a particular state, that is the state that will be highlighted and the rest of the states will be then faded out, okay? So we will look at the output and then I'll be able to tell you what is the exact difference between the highlight action and the filter action, okay? So right now I'm setting it on the select option, and I want to again go with all the fields over here, and I am good to go with this, okay? So let me just click on OK, and you can see the second action has been associated now, which is the highlight action. So now that this action has been added, let me click on OK and let's try it out. So now that I'm hovering over California, you can see it is still the filter action that is working, correct? Now this is where hover will keep on filtering your data. But as soon as I select, I want you to observe that it is the highlight action that has got applied. So what did I tell you? Highlight action will highlight the one that we have selected and fade out the rest of the values. So can you see the difference now? When we were hovering and when it was filtering the data, the target sheet, if you see the sheet 3 over here, which is the target sheet, it did not show the rest of the values at all. It filtered out the rest of the values and only shows me California, correct? But while I apply the highlight action instead of filter, you can see it highlights California in both the sheets for you. The rest of the values are still there if you see in the background, but they are faded out such that the audience will focus on the highlighted value that you are trying to talk about. So tomorrow if I want to talk about Texas, I'll just highlight Texas and you can see it is getting highlighted in both the graphs and not just the single one. So this is the benefit of the highlight action over the filter action, and that's the reason why I mostly prefer the highlight action over the filter action. Okay, so this is the second type of action that we have seen that can be applied onto the dashboard. Now let's move on towards the third action. And this is a very interesting one, and that's one of the reasons why I chose the state related graphs, because the go to URL action is what we are going to try out now. which will allow me to convert these graphs into hyperlinks. Just like some time back we saw how to convert an image object into a hyperlink, the same kind of thing is what we are going to try out here, where we will try to associate a URL, and based on the state which we will try to click upon, we will try to land up onto some page that is related to that particular state. So this is a setting where we will need certain more options to be selected while associating this URL action, but this is an interesting one. And what we will try to achieve over here is, whenever we are clicking onto a particular state, we will try to open the Wikipedia page for that particular state, because you know that for every state there are Wikipedia pages, correct? So let's try to associate that URL. But now let me help you relate to the real world scenario. Suppose if you use it into your own presentation, where can you use this? So that example which we were talking about some time back, that you are talking about the products that your company is offering, and there are certain questions coming from the audience where there are more specific details which are asked about the products, and those details are not even present into your workbook, they are present onto your company's website, correct? So when you want to embed this company's URLs over here, all you need to ensure is that the right path is passed. So as soon as I click on product 1, it should take me to the page where product 1 related specific details are displayed onto the website. Similarly, as soon as I click on product 2, it should display me the web page that is associated with the product 2 and will give me more information that I can discuss in detail with the audience then. Okay, so that kind of activity is what we will try to achieve here. But I'm keeping it simple, where I am going to navigate you to the Wikipedia pages for each of the state, because that's something definitely that each of the state will have, correct? So now let's start with this. So currently it is highlighting to me the name as hyperlink 1, right? And I am ideally okay with this one, but what will happen is, whenever I try to go on to the hyperlink, the name that will be displayed will be hyperlink 1. Rather than the same name coming on each and every state, what I would like to see is a hyperlink with that particular state's name. For example, when I click on to Texas, I should get a hyperlink named as Texas with an underline below that, correct? Not just the hyperlink word. So this is where what you can do is, you can remove this name and you can rather insert the name that you would like to display there. So what I'm going to do here is, I am going to select the state variable from this list, and what I want you to observe is it came into those angular brackets. You remember the purpose of the angular brackets? That allow you to pick up the current value. So if I'm hovering over Texas, I will get the name picked up as Texas. And if I'm hovering over California, I'll get the name picked up as California. So the hyperlink will be created with that particular state's name and not just any random name. So for now, this is sorted. I want both of the sheets to be the source sheet. There is no target sheet in this case, because target will actually be a web page, correct? So both the sheets are source sheets, and I can click on any of them and I'll still be able to open up the Wikipedia pages, okay? Run action on, let's select the third option here, because we already have an action set on hover as well as select. But having said that, let me tell you that this URL action should be implemented using the menu action. This is a recommendation, because what happens is, when it is set to menu, what will happen is, when you click onto that particular state, the pop-up menu will come, within which you will get to see the state's hyperlink, and only when you click on that hyperlink, you will be navigated to that particular web page which you have associated with it. In case you do it onto the hover action, just imagine how many Wikipedia pages we will end up opening when we just hover over the entire map, right? We obviously don't want that. So it is a safer option to select the menu setting for this in order to set the action on, okay? So menu is what has been selected by default and I'll stick to it. And what I'm suggesting here is, URL target, new tab if no web page object exists. Yes, I am wanting to open a new web page object every time. And what should be the URL? This has to be passed meaningfully here, correct? So let me just open up any random Wikipedia page for now. Let's say I'm trying to search for Texas. You know that the very first link that I will end up getting is a Wikipedia page, right? So let me go on to this and let me copy the URL from here, okay? Alright, now that I've copied the URL, let me paste it over here. Now what happens is, you can see that by default Texas is the kind of page that it will end up landing to, correct? So for any given state, when I click, it will always take me to Texas ka Wikipedia page. Of course, that's not what I want, right? I would like to see the Wikipedia page for that particular state which I have clicked onto. So let's remove this Texas from here and let's make it a generic kind of a URL. So this path will remain common no matter which state I am clicking onto, correct? And from here, I will insert the current state name. So just like, that value was selected, so it removed it. So let me just repaste the URL for the Wikipedia. And yeah, remove the Texas from this, and let me now insert ahead of this the sample superstore state variable name, right, which is in the angular brackets again, which means that whenever I click on to any of the state, that state name will be replacing this part instead of Texas. The rest of the path will remain common, and accordingly it will be able to open up the page that we are looking forward to. So now if you see, it has automatically picked up the very first state name that was present in the variable, which is Alabama. And this is the link that we are getting here. So we can definitely test whether our connection works successfully or not. So as soon as I clicked on that, you can see I'm landing onto the Alabama's Wikipedia page. So this link is working fine now. So all I need to do is okay, and this is where I will end up associating that go to URL action, and this has been set on to the menu event. So let's try to check it out. So I've clicked on OK, and now when I click on any of the state, you can see this is the menu, and within the menu, can you observe the hyperlink has got created with the name California, right? So now only when I click on to California, you will see that it will navigate me to the Wikipedia page for California. So this is how you can make use of the go to URL action, and both of the sheets were kept as the source sheets, correct? So suppose I'm using the lower sheet as the source sheet for now. If I click on to British Columbia, you can see the hyperlink is available with that name, and when I click on it, it will take me to the Wikipedia page for British Columbia. So this is how you can associate, the go to URL action, which could be very beneficial for you while you want to navigate to certain web pages at the runtime when there are certain questions that you face from the audience. Okay, so there are multiple actions that we can associate with respect to the dashboards that we are going to present in order to make them more meaningful and interactive at the runtime, such that the audience is focusing on the right set of values that you are trying to highlight at the moment, and they are not wandering around looking at all of the values that are present in front of them. So customizing the graphs at the runtime while presenting the dashboard is effectively done with the help of the dashboarding actions, and the three actions that we saw right now are the most commonly used kind of actions. And as I said, you can set 3 actions at a time on a dashboard, because you have those 3 events, which is the hover, select and the menu, on which you can associate those actions onto your dashboards. So yeah, that's about our third example related to dashboard, and we have seen that We have created a couple of dashboards now. One where we saw the collation of multiple sheets together. The second one where we saw the collection of objects put together to, bring an interactiveness into the dashboard. And the third one where we have tried associating those various actions that can be applied onto the dashboards. Now that we have seen how dashboards work, let's move on to the next part.
Like this video, subscribe to our channel and comment on the concept you want to learn next.